The suspect, this is the first time he mentions a clothing description. He says, the suspect was dressed in an unknown color suit. Describes him as a male black, medium complexion, short hair, receding hairline. So, yeah, go on. Do you want to start with Little Cease?
Yeah, Little Cease.
Okay, so Little Cease, he never ever says there's a bow tie. First of all, so that's very important for your listeners to know. Little Cease never says he saw a bow tie. Little Cease, he says he saw a guy from like here up, right? And he tries to describe the guy. He goes, dude, a shot was fired. I glimpse over there. I see a guy. I look towards his face, and I duck down, like, oh shit, like that. You know, it's instantaneous. So he gets this quick little glimpse. He says what he remembers. And I'm going to demonstrate for you because this is important to understand. Right. He says the driver's left hand was high on the steering wheel. I'll let you know, so he can see the left hand above the door panel. The left hand is up on the steering wheel, so approximately at like shoulder distance, right?
Right.
He says the right hand with the gun is over like this. So you've got this, right?
Right.
Or this. More likely this, because he says he can only see the guy from like, the bridge of the nose up.
Right.
So boom, 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 boom. This is what Little Cease would have seen. Sees the guy's arm on the steering wheel. The other hand with the gun is pointing out the window. And he sees a glimpse of this guy's face from here on up. And he tries, he does his best to try to describe him, what his brain captured in that instance. And he gives the story. So here's Little Cease's statements, right? So this is his first interview. His first interview with law enforcement happens at the Universal Sheraton at 5:20 in the morning. So we're like, almost 5 hours later. He's left the hospital. He's over here at the Universal Sheraton. A couple of patrol officers get there. They interview him. He says that when they were stopped at the stoplight when a large forest green, American-made four-door pulled up. It pulls up alongside the passenger side of our vehicle. The witness, Little Cease, sees the driver, the occupant, produce a stainless steel or chrome-plated handgun and fire approximately 7 times in the vehicle's direction. It's a very, simple interview, and he provides simple information. That's at 5:20 in the morning. And then detectives go to and those are patrol officers that went over there and talked to him at 5:20 in the morning, patrol officers. And then the second interview, same day, happens at 12:30 noon, just after noon. Detectives Felix and Edwards are over there, and Cease says, he talks about stuff leading up to the shooting. And he says that as they pulled up to the red light, suddenly a male black driver pulled up alongside our vehicle. The suspect pointed a dark color handgun in their direction and started shooting into the vehicle. So you already see between this, just 6 hours apart, there's already a different description of the gun. One, he says it's a stainless steel or silver gun. In this interview, and I'm not criticizing Cease. I'm just saying this is how information is not always consistent. You're doing your best, but memory sometimes is a fickle thing. He says he pointed a dark color handgun and started shooting. Little Cease immediately ducked down. He described the shooter as a male, brown-skinned, fade-style haircut, maybe 24, 25 years old. So he says it's a male black. He's brown-skinned. He's got a fade-style haircut, 24, 25. Either a stainless steel gun or a dark gun. So this is all the day that Biggie shot, right? This is all that day. He does 2 interviews, and this is what he's saying. Very limited information. He doesn't give a suspect description of the clothing. He never mentions anything about a bow tie. He's just saying this shit happened fast, man, and I'm telling you what I know.
Right.
So then the third interview, which happens on the 20th. So now we're, 11 days later, he gets interviewed again by the same 2 detectives. And this one's at One Police Plaza. This is in Teaneck, New Jersey. I'm sorry, One Police Plaza. I think this is in New York. Yeah, sorry about that. I was reading, I was reading Little Caesar's address on TNIC. Anyways, yeah, so this is on the 20th, and he says, again, everything that's leading up to the shooting, he says the first vehicle had cleared the tri-light. So he's corroborating Eugene Deal's story here. He says the first vehicle cleared the tri-light at Wilshire and Fairfax. Our vehicle was stopped at the light. Now, a dark color car drove up along the right side of our vehicle, and the driver started shooting. He heard about 7 or 8 shots. He looked towards the suspect's face. After the shooting, everybody jumped from the vehicle, right? Everybody jumped out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then, so again, just limited information, no clothing description, no bow tie, nothing like that. This is just providing this really basic information because that's all he really saw. It says, and then of course it goes on and they show him pictures, 6-packs with people in it. And one of the people in the 6-packs is Keefe D. He's like, oh yeah, this guy was at the party. I know him. He's come around before, blah, blah, blah. So the rest of that interview kind of goes and focuses on, the association with Keefe D and Bad Boy. All right. So then the 4th interview, which happens April 21st. So now have gone from March into April. So this is almost a month later. The next interview happens almost a month later. Same story. He's talking about Keefe D and, being at the party and everything leading up to the shooting. And in this one, he says that the suspect vehicle drove up along the passenger side. It's important because this is not a car that's already parked. He's saying this vehicle drives up. They're stopped again at the red light. And now he says, I saw a blue steel handgun come out of the driver's window and I heard several shots. So now we've gone from a chrome or stainless to a dark to a blue steel. The suspect, this is the first time he mentions a clothing description. He says the suspect was dressed in an unknown color suit. Describes him as a male black, medium complexion, short hair, receding hairline. He described the suspect's vehicle as dark green. So in 2 interviews, he says it's dark green or forest green. So he's saying it's a green car. Right? He's the closest person to ever come to that car other than obviously Biggie. Right? So he's the closest person to ever come to that car. So he's said in several interviews it's green. He never ever says that it's black. Right? So that's his 4th interview. Now his 5th interview, his next interview happens all the way in June. Right? And so now you're, however many months, 3 months later, right?
Right.
And basically, and this is Detective Poole doing this interview, by the way. So this is Detective Poole and his partner, the lead investigator, Fred Miller. Now they're interviewing Little C's, and this interview is happening at the LAPD police station. Same story, male black, receding hairline, car pulled up to us. We were behind Puffy. The car that pulled up, the driver did the shooting. This again, he says now he's dressed in a suit. Right? He's just dressed in a suit. He doesn't know a color or he says it's a dark color suit. He says that the guy kind of had the same complexion as him. So I guess that's a medium complexion. In his mind, he's medium complected because he's already said this guy has medium complexion. He says now in this one, it appeared to be a 9mm. And it looked like it was silver. So he's flip-flopping back and forth on the color of the gun. It's silver, and then it's dark, and then it's blue steel, and now it was chrome or stainless, and then it's dark, and then it's blue steel, and then it's silver again. So the gun thing is a little bit of an inconsistency, and again, not judging. I understand this shit happens, and you're just doing your best. So they show him a bunch of photo lineups, and he can't pick anybody up. He can't pick anybody out in this interview. So the next interview is another photo lineups, And this happens all the way in 1998 now.
Wow.
So this is more than 2 years. This is in April of 1998. Detective Poole goes out and interviews Little Cease again, right? And this is in New York. And at this time, they show him 6-packs, and one of the 6-packs has a picture of Amir Muhammad. And he says, I can't ID anybody. There's nobody in these photographs that looks like the guy that I saw, right? So he's looked at Amir and says he doesn't pay any attention to it because he doesn't identify Amir as looking anything like the person. So we've got him saying, no ID on the lineup cards. So that's it with Little Cease. You've got 6 interviews, very little information, male, black, unknown color gun, really, because he's gone back and forth on that. No bow tie, ever. So that's Little Cease's statements.
And mind you, for the people listening and watching, Little Cease is sitting right behind Big, correct?
Yeah, he's directly behind Biggie, and in the second Suburban. And so, as a matter of fact, one of the bullets, like Little Cease is so lucky that one of those bullets didn't hit him because it traverses directly through where his legs were. And I mean, by the grace of God, he wasn't struck by a bullet because one of them should have hit him, actually. If you look at the trajectory of the bullets in the holes in the car, it's, by the grace of God, he didn't get struck. So, yeah, that's Little Cease, and I have a lot of respect for him because, in my opinion, he's kept it real. Yeah, his little floppy on the gun thing, whatever. He's not going out of his way to try to point the finger at somebody he's just letting his memory be as honest as he can. He just doesn't see a lot because it happens so quick, and he ducks down, and next thing you know, the car's gone. And, most of the people listening to this have never been, in the midst of an actual shooting where you're being shot at, basically, and how the brain immediately goes into flight mode. Your first instinct, the very first thing your brain tells you to do is get the fuck out the way.
Right.
And so that's what Little Cease did. That's what G Money did. That's what Damian Butler did. Damian Butler says I didn't see shit. So I don't even, I didn't bring up his interview because he basically says I didn't see anything at all. So where do you want to go from here? You want to do Gregory Young, who's the driver of Biggie's vehicle?
Right before we get to that, I want to ask you this: what is the confusion of Gene saying, "Hey, Lil C said and such said it was the blue suit bow tie who shot Biggie," because Gene keeps throwing this around, and I cannot. Even when Lil C does interviews about it, the interviews that you've seen, he does not say he saw anything.
Yeah, well, like I said, he says he saw, basically from here up.
Right.
So he doesn't really see much. And, I think it would be hard to see a bow tie. Like
Right.
He never mentions a bow tie. Eugene Deal is talking about the guy that he had, somebody that he thought was suspicious back in the garage before they'd ever left the Peterson Auto Museum. He sees a Nation of Islam guy who he thinks is a security guy there. He's already had, previous issues. And so he's looking around. He's like, where's the other, because he's like, what he tells us is like they usually work more, in pairs. And so he sees this one guy and he's looking around to see if there's other guys there. And he's assuming this guy's working security. And then the guy walks away and, goes out of his sight, but he's walking up towards the intersection of Fairfax and Wilshire. So he walks out of Gene's sight and disappears. Well, later on, he's trying to connect that guy with the shooter. And I'll do G Money's interviews, and then you'll see where he's trying to pull together these two different sources of information.
Right.
So you want to do that, or did you have more questions?
Yeah. No. Let's do G Money.